The following is a mirrored video. Yeah, YouTuber Kafka Winston World had this on her channel last year, but since her channel was unjustly flagged down, I thought I'd have this on here. So, here we go.
It's June 19, 2013. 25 Ways to Suppress Truth. The rules of disinformation includes the 8 traits of a disinformationalist. I'll get right to the rules. I'm not going to get through all of them. Very interesting article. But understand, there are people who are hired to put out disinformation. And many of them are on mainstream media. But this doesn't only apply to those professional disinformationalists. This applies to the American public. They've been trained to communicate just as those who are actually receiving money to communicate disinformation. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. And also, as I read this, think about all of the narcissists in your life. Think about all of those who are pathologically narcissists, certainly, but all of those who have narcissistic tendencies, which, frankly, includes most of the American public. They may not be pathological, but they have been brought up in a culture of narcissism. We have let this just breed, you know, on infinitum. It just goes on and on and on, and we don't call these people out on very bad behavior. And it's almost as if nobody knows how to communicate anymore in this country. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. Regardless of what you know, don't discuss it. Especially if you're a public figure or a news anchor. If it's not reported, it didn't happen. That's why Amy Goodman of Democracy Now! Is she's a powerful influence of those that are her viewers, because she's stamped with integrity and she does report a lot of the truth, but what she's not reporting also influences her viewers, because if she doesn't report it, then it either didn't happen or it's insignificant and irrelevant, and just don't pay attention to it. You never have to deal with the issues. Become incredulous and indignant. Avoid discussing key issues and instead focus on side issues, which can be used to show the topic as being critical of some otherwise sacrosanct group or theme. This is also known as the "how dare you" gambit. All of those taboo subjects. How dare you? How dare you say that? Create rumor mongers. Avoid discussing issues by describing all charges, regardless of venue or evidence, as mere rumors and wild accusations. Other derogatory terms, mutually exclusive of truth, may work as well. This method, which works especially well with a silent press, because the only way the public can learn of the facts are through such arguable rumors. If you can associate the material with the internet, use this fact to certify it's a wild rumor because it's coming from the internet, from a bunch of kids on the internet, which can have no basis in fact. Of course not. Just a bunch of kids on the internet putting out rumors that the adults on mainstream media have to clearly, what's happening on the internet has great influence from these kids if they have to shoot it down. Use a straw man. Find or create a seeming element of your opponent's argument which you can easily knock down to make yourself look good and the opponent to look bad. Either make up an issue you may safely imply exists based on your interpretation of the opponent or opponent arguments or situation, or select the weakest aspect of the weakest charges. Amplify their significance and destroy them in a way which appears to debunk all the charges, real and fabricated alike, while actually avoiding discussion of the real issues. That happens all of the time. Politicians do it all the time. Avoid the real issues and let's just talk endlessly about nonsense. Sidetrack opponents with name calling and ridicule. I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time talking. And I've been having a hard time talking for a week now. This is also known as the primary attack the messenger ploy, though other methods qualify as variants of that approach. Associate opponents with unpopular titles such as kooks, right wing, liberal, left wing, terrorists, conspiracy buffs, radicals, militia, racists, religious fanatics, sexual deviants, and so forth. This makes others shrink from support out of fear of gaining the same label, and you avoid dealing with the issues. Hit and run in any public forum. Make a brief attack on your opponent or the opponent position and then scamper off before an answer can be fielded. Or simply ignore any answer. This works extremely well in internet and letters to the editor environments where a steady stream of new identities can be called upon without having to explain criticism, reasoning, simply make an accusation or other attack, never discussing issues, never answering any subsequent response, for that would dignify the opponent's viewpoint. Question motives. Twist or amplify any fact which could be taken to imply that the opponent operates out of a hidden personal agenda or other bias. This avoids discussing issues and forces the accuser on the defensive. Invoke authority. Claim for yourself or associate yourself with authority and present your argument with enough jargon and minutia to illustrate you are one who knows, and simply say it isn't so without discussing issues or demonstrating concretely why or citing sources. How many people claim to be experts? They say 2 sentences and then that's it. They won't even discuss anything. They are right, you are wrong, that's it. No more argument, no more communication. I ain't gonna listen to you, stick your finger in your ear, go away, expert. You are right. Play dumb. No matter what evidence or logical argument is offered, avoid discussing issues except with denials. They have any credibility, make any sense, provide any proof, contain or make a point, have logic, or support a conclusion. Mix well for maximum effect. Associate opponent charges with old news. Oh, that's old. Oh, the past. Forget about the past. What do you mean, forget about it? It just happened yesterday, but it's in the past, so forget about it. A derivative of the straw man. Usually in any large-scale matter of high visibility, someone will make charges early on which can be or were already easily dealt with, kind of investment for the future should the matter not be so easily contained. Where it can be foreseen, have your own side raise a straw man issue and have it dealt with early on as part of the initial contingency plan. Subsequent charges, regardless of validity or new ground uncovered, can usually then be associated with the original charge and dismissed as simply being a rehash without need to address current issues. So much the better where the opponent is or was involved with the original source. That's the whole, let's move forward, let's forget about the past. Old news, who cares? I've received comments, this is old news. You know, even when there are details coming out and admissions, the admissions are not old news. We know what's going on, but now our government is actually confirming what the so-called conspiracy theorists have been saying. It's been fact for years, now they confirm it, and everybody just moves on without thinking, oh my God, that's what the conspiracy theorists have been saying. And now it's coming out. Now they're confirming that it's fact. But do you hear any of these people actually coming to conspiracy theorists and saying, Jesus, I'm sorry for not listening. Jesus, I'm sorry for dismissing you. Jesus, I'm sorry for laughing and shaming. Because you know what? You were right. You're not going to hear that, folks. It doesn't happen because we, Americans, never take responsibility for anything, no matter how atrocious our behavior is. We just don't take any responsibility. Establish and rely upon fallback positions. Using a minor matter or element of the facts, take the high road and confess with candor that some innocent mistake in hindsight was made, but that opponents have seized on the opportunity to blow it all out of proportion and imply greater criminalities, which just isn't so. Others can reinforce this on your behalf later and even publicly call for an end of the nonsense because you have already done the right thing. Done properly, this can garner sympathy and respect for coming clean and owning up to your mistakes without addressing more serious issues. Enigmas have no solution. Drawing upon the overall umbrella of events surrounding the crime and the multitude of players and events paint the entire affair as too complex to solve. Too complex. No, everything is really very, very simple. Get rid of these criminals in the government. This causes those otherwise following the matter to begin to lose interest more quickly without having to address the actual issues. Right. So if you actually bring up details, then everybody goes into this blind stare, like their brain just cuts off. In 2 minutes, you bring up a couple of details, and then they go, forget it. This, it's just too big. It's just too complex. It's confusing. Forget it. As if anybody even has a brain today. Alice in Wonderland logic. Avoid discussion of the issues by raising backwards or with an apparent deductive logic which forbears any actual material fact. Demand complete solutions. Avoid the issues by requiring opponents to solve the crime at hand completely. Apply which works best with issues qualifying for Rule 10. Okay, so you bring up an issue, right? And then people say, well, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to solve it? What can we do about it? It's like nobody can even communicate at all today about what's happening without somebody going, well, there's nothing we can do about it. Well, what are you going to do about it? Well, solve it. How are you going to solve it? It's just, infuriating. Demand complete solutions. Avoid the issues by requiring opponents to solve the crime at hand. I just read that, sorry. Fit the facts to alternate conclusions. This requires creative thinking unless the crime was planned with contingency conclusions in place. Vanish evidence and witnesses. If it does not exist, it is not fact. And you won't have to address the issue. Change the subject. Oh my God, how often does that happen? Usually in connection with one of the other ploys listed here. Find a way to sidetrack the discussion with abrasive or controversial comments in hopes of turning attention to a new, more manageable topic. This works especially well with companions who can argue with you over the new topic and polarize the discussion arena in order to avoid discussing more key issues. Emotionalize, antagonize, and goad opponents. If you can't do anything else, chide and taunt your opponents and draw them into emotional responses, which will tend to make them look foolish and overly motivated and generally render their material somewhat less coherent. Okay, this is a tactic that so many people use, passive-aggressive people use, narcissists use. I mean, how many times do people just throw out insane sentences to make you angry? And then they finally make you angry, and then they turn around and say, oh, you're crazy. You're angry. You're angry. I'm walking away. I'm not dealing with you. I mean, I've had so many people in my life like this, it is beyond belief. And they do it intentionally because they don't want to take a look at themselves. They don't want to talk about the issues. So they just throw out anything completely irrelevant. It drives you nuts. And then you finally get angry and then they claim you're nuts. Ignore proof presented, demand impossible proofs, false evidence whenever possible, introduce new facts or clues designed and manufactured to conflict with opponent presentations, call a grand jury, special prosecutor, or other empowered investigative bodies, subvert the process to your benefit, and effectively neutralize all sensitive issues without open discussion. Manufacture a new truth. How many people do that? They just out of the blue manufacture a complete and utter lie. Create bigger distractions. Well, how many drama queens are living in this country? I mean, my God. Silence critics and vanish. If you're a key holder of secrets or otherwise overly illuminated and you think the heat is getting too hot, to avoid the issues, vacate the kitchen. All right, have a great day, folks.